The double entry system is fundamental to speaking accounting, and we cannot emphasize enough how important it is that you thoroughly understand the system before proceeding with the course. If you do understand it, you're in great shape to move beyond bookkeeping. Let's recap what you already know in a slightly different manner to what you may be used to. The double entry system means that there are two sides to every economic event. For example, if you purchase a vehicle, the one side would be you have a new vehicle, and the other side of this event would be you have less cash or perhaps raised a loan to finance the vehicle. In understanding an economic event, be sure to always look out for these two sides. Once you've identified these two sides, you need to determine which elements of accounting each of these represent. The elements you'll recall are assets, liabilities, equity, income, and expenses. In the example of purchasing a new vehicle and financing the purchase with a loan, there are two elements at stake: the vehicle, asset, and the loan, liability. Understanding the economic event is vital to determining this classification. Next, you decide whether the asset increases or decreases, and whether the liability increases or decreases. In the instance of purchasing this vehicle, the asset increases, and the liability also increases. Now, this is where the language of accounting starts to come into effect, and you need to learn and understand the basic language rules. The two sides to an economic event we call the debit and credit side. If you divide a page in half, with the line dividing the left and the right side of the page, the language of accounting would call the left-hand side the debit side and the right-hand side the credit side. For each of the elements of accounting, we then have some language rules you need to memorize. Assets increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. Similarly, expenses increase on the debit side and decrease on the credit side. Liabilities, however, increase on the credit side and decrease on the debit side. Equity also increases on the credit side and decreases on the debit side. And income also increases on the credit side and decreases on the debit side. So in the instance of the purchase of a vehicle, an asset financed with a loan liability, the vehicle asset increases on the debit side and the loan liability increases on the credit side. Each of these elements is recorded in their own account. The language of accounting is dependent on these elements staying in balance. The asset increase on the debit side balances the loan increase on the credit side. Viewed together, there is therefore balance on the page and the accounting system. Often there's not enough time and attention paid in accounting courses to how this speaking of accounting permeates everything that is accounting. Students are taught about ledgers and journals and financial statements, but really are they helped to understand that every one of these is just speaking accounting on a page that is formatted differently. What we've discussed is the ledger, but a journal also involves debits and credits, staying in balance. This could be a general journal or purchases journal or any other subsidiary journal. In financial statements, the debits are just stacked on top and the credits below, rather than on the right and the left side of the page. As we proceed through this course, you will see the speaking of accounting in every economic event discussed. Watch out for it. The rules of the language of accounting must become as fundamental to your accounting as being able to say hello and goodbye. As a last comment, remember that debits and credits are evident in all parts of the accounting process. To allow summarizing of many transactions, subsidiary journals and cash books are often employed. Journals employ the double entry system. From the journal, totals are transferred to the general ledger accounts described above, before ultimately being reported in the financial statements, which also reflect the double entry system in a vertical format. Being able to speak debit and credit is being able to speak accounting. You can tell from this information that this entity has achieved sales of 350 currency units and earned interest of 50 currency units, resulting in an increase in their cash at bank of 400 currency units. The usefulness of this information in influencing decisions made by stakeholders will become clearer as we progress through the course.